Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I'm Tyler Osby.
And today we're continuing our discussion on the Call of Duty.
Yes, Call of Duty, a very influential franchise in its own right, but today we're going to talk about one specific Call of Duty game, which I think is the most important Call of Duty game to ever exist. And I know that a lot of people don't necessarily think Call of Duty is the greatest series of all time, and I don't either, but this game has... the game that we're going to talk about today has a legacy that goes beyond first-person shooters, that goes beyond action games. It has trickled its way into almost any multiplayer game that comes out today. Like, the vast majority of multiplayer games have drawn some inspiration from this game, and we'll get into why that is. But let's catch folks up a little bit on where we're at right now. So we got the original Call of Duty games that were extremely high-quality adventures in World War II. The main draw of those games was... main draw of these games versus like the World War II games that came before it were that you were just like a normal soldier, kind of in the thick of it. You're not like a super soldier or a super secret spy or anything like that. And the games are just good. They're good shooters with excellent audio quality. They weren't particularly innovative on their own, but they took all of those pieces and just all of them were done with such high quality that they came together and just made for a really fun and immersive experience. And we had the second Call of Duty that took the risk in introducing regenerating health to the series, which I think also trickled its way into shooters and action games as well after that. And it implemented that in a way that showed other developers that you could do a regenerating health system like that, even in games that aren't like sci-fi games where you can sort of explain it off as like shields or something, which is how Halo did it before. Because I guess technically Halo had regenerating health before Call of Duty 2. So Call of Duty 2 did it in like a realistic game, even though it's not a realistic feature, but... So we had the expansion pack Call of Duty 1, we had Call of Duty 2, had some graphics and AI upgrades, and then there was the console-only Call of Duty 3. So the first two Call of Duty games were developed by Infinity Ward, which had 2 years in between them. The expansion pack was developed by, I want to say, Gray Matter, another company. And then Call of Duty 3 was developed by Treyarch. They had also developed a couple of console-exclusive titles to at least Big Red 1, and I think they did Finest Hour as well. That might have also been Gray Matter. So anyway, by this point, Activision had settled on an annual release schedule for Call of Duty, and since it takes more than a year to develop a Call of Duty title, Activision split the development duties between Treyarch and Infinity Ward at this point in time to make sure they could maintain that quality level that they were known for while still getting out a title every single year, because that's very important to Activision's bottom line, is that they continue to make money, which makes sense.
Yeah, business of video games.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mind that approach. I mean, it means that the games get enough time in the oven to be good while still having that constant drip. I don't know. There was a period of time where a new Call of Duty coming out every year was like, oh, geez, there's another one? Okay, fine. But that's what they were doing.
I definitely felt like I was always like, Activision, the word business company making all this stuff terrible. But in reality... like, in most situations, we wouldn't have these, like, amazing high-quality games if we didn't have this business side of it, you know?
Yep.
Like, hey, were you one of the many people stoked about Cyberpunk? Well, you know, that, like, level of quality comes with a gigantic budget. So,
yep. That's
the way it works.
You know who knows how to get money for games that need big budgets? Publishers. And sometimes they do things that aren't immediately in the best interest of gamers, but they do bankroll those games, so... yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. Whether it's worth it or not is probably worth a discussion at some point, but I don't know enough about that. So,
me neither.
Yeah. But what this ended up doing by having two companies sort of develop titles in tandem, there's a little bit of a like disjointed feel for the series where we'd see each studio sort of developing further entries in its own like sub-series of Call of Duty games. Kind of like how you and I, Mike, will work on these episodes. But we'll go back and forth where like one of us leads a different episode. So we do a similar thing.
We are the Infinity Ward and Treyarch of podcasting. I've always said that.
Yeah. So, you know, we are as good as they are at podcasting as they are at making games, probably.
This Halloween, Codex Zombies.
So, yeah, anyway, there's just an interesting parallel that I found. So while Treyarch was cranking on the series' third mainline World War II installment, or fourth, I guess, which would be World at War. Infinity Ward. Oh no! While they were working on Call of Duty 3. No, you're right. They were working on Call of Duty 3, while Infinity Ward was working on something different, something relevant, something modern. The internet. of video games. I don't know why I said that. So let's talk about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Let's get into the grime facts.
I'm super excited about this. This is like right when I was like, because I kind of took a break from video games from like, or I would say like senior in high school to like middle of college.
Yeah.
And I got back in. It was really Fallout 3 and then Call of Duty 4 were the games that like pushed me back in again. You know what I mean?
Call of Duty 4 was a watershed game for a lot of people, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So the grime facts are developed by Infinity Ward, published by Activision, released in November 2007 for the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3, September of 2008 for Mac, and November of 2009 for the Wii. Remember when Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition came out like 2 years later for the Wii? Right around the same time that Modern Warfare 2 was coming out? That was fun.
Wouldn't you put the Wii mote into like a gun attachment too? And it was like straight up like a shooter like Duck Hunt, but with people.
People hunt.
That sounds really terrible.
I think you could do that. You didn't have to. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. But the Wii version was straight up just like a downscale of Call of Duty 4. Like it was the whole game. Just the graphics were lower, and it had like pointer controls instead of like traditional controller controls. And was surprisingly decent. I think it was okay. It wasn't like, I wouldn't say that's the way to play the game, but like if you had a Wii and didn't have a PC and didn't have anything else and you wanted to play some Modern Warfare, like I guess that'd do it.
Yeah, might as well go for it, you know?
Yeah. It's a first-person shooter. It sold over 13 million copies as of 2009, so that was a while ago. So it's sold a lot, probably by now at this point, I think, just between
also
being on Steam and stuff.
The remastered version too.
Yeah. That's the version to play if you're playing it, because it came out in 2017 on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. The remastered version, they did both the campaign and the multiplayer. I think the multiplayer is mostly dead on the remastered version, but the campaign's still good. It's the full game with just way better graphics, like sort of upgraded and brought into modern era, and I think it holds up pretty well. So if you're trying to play through it today, then that's the way to play it, unless you want like the historic context of it or something, like you want to play it as it was played in 2007, in which case play it on 360 or PS3. And it actually holds up pretty well because it runs at 60 frames per second on both the PS3 and the Xbox 360. So it's really smooth. It actually feels pretty good to play still, even if the graphics are a bit on the lower side.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't even touched the remaster, so I definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I'm working on my second playthrough of the remastered version now. And it's good. It takes about 7 hours to complete the campaign. That's according to howlongtobeat.com. It's probably about accurate. The Metacritic score on this game is 92 on PC, 94 on Xbox and PlayStation 3, and then a 76 on the Wii. Womp womp.
Womp womp womp.
Like I said, I think it was fine if that's how you wanted to, like if that was the way you had to play the game, it would do it. But if you had any other way to play it, you should do it in any other way.
Yeah, I think we realized pretty quickly as a society that motion controls are fun in very specific situations, and Call of Duty is not one of them.
Not one of those, yeah. But they continued to make them. They put World at War out on the Wii. They put Black Ops out on the Wii. Modern Warfare 3 had a Wii version too, I think. But I don't think Modern Warfare 2 ever did, which is kind of strange.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
that
interesting.
Is bizarre.
Scott the Woz, I don't know if you've ever watched his videos on YouTube, but he has a video where he goes through playing Call of Duty on the Wii and plays all the Wii versions, and he's a pretty funny YouTuber, but it also kind of shows off how surprisingly good those ports are, but still not good. You know, still not great.
Yeah, like they did everything they could in their power to make it good, but it's still just like a weird choice to have a Call of Duty game motion control on Wii.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Call of Duty 4 also won a bunch of awards. GameSpot and Game Trailer's Best Graphics Award at E3 2007. It's number 3 on Screw Attack's top FPS games of all time as of 2008, so that's maybe an old article. Lots of Game of the Year awards, Best Action Game from lots of places. Like it did well, okay? It got a lot of awards, did fine critically, got good reviews.
Good video game. Solid video game.
Game's good, okay? So let's talk about it now. This is a game that pushed forward the genre in both an evolutionary way in the single-player campaign, but then, more importantly, it changed the face of multiplayer games forever. We'll get to that. I want to get to that later, but I want to keep keep dropping the breadcrumbs there, teasing. So the gameplay here on Call of Duty 4, still first-person shooter. Most of the main rules established in earlier Call of Duty titles are still there. You got weapons, you got your grenades, you can only hold 2 weapons at a time. This time around, the weapons are, of course, a little bit more modern, so you get all the NATO, American, and British guns, and then all the enemies' guns, which I'm assuming are accurate to, I mean, it's not, they're like fictional bad guys, so I guess they're as accurate as Infinity Ward wants them to be. Whatever Infinity Ward says they are, I guess, is accurate. This is like AK-47s and stuff. You fight a lot of folks in Russia and then also in the Middle East, so I'm assuming those guns are probably accurate to what folks in those areas are using. But what's cool about the weapons this time is there are different sights, different kinds of sights. So whereas in the older Call of Duty games, you just had iron sights on every weapon, now you got red dot sights, you got more zoomed in ACOG sights, you got iron sights still on some of the guns, but there's a little bit more variety, and it makes it feel a little bit more high tech when you're using something like a red dot sight, which is kind of cool. And that's one thing that makes multiplayer a lot more deep and fun, because you can switch those sights and attachments around on your guns and sort of customize things.
Keep dropping those breadcrumbs, Tyler. I'm going to eat them up all over the floor, okay?
Yeah.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready to talk about multiplayer.
But whoa, it's going to be a minute. But other than those things in the single player, like gameplay hasn't really changed a whole lot from older Call of Duty titles. And if you've played any sort of recent first-person shooter, you're kind of familiar with how this game works. So as the title would imply, the campaign of Call of Duty 4 takes place in modern times, specifically in the near future of 2011. This game came out in 2007, so
in the future.
Yeah. But this time around, the story is entirely fictional, centering on stopping a wannabe dictator from the Middle East from taking over the world, or something like that. There's some Russian stuff involved too. But turns out this guy probably has nukes, so we got to track him down and stop him. I like the story. I think it's pretty fun. It's much more focused than the World War II games, and I talked about this when we talked about the World War II games, of like the moment to moment missions were always really fun and exciting and really hectic, but it was hard to see what what these missions were contributing to overall, besides like, this is good for the Allies, right?
History.
Yeah, it was history, and like a war of that size is obviously kind of hard to really distill down into a few missions, and that's why there are so many World War II games.
That's why I really like the Battlefield approach to it. With Battlefield 1 and with Battlefield 5 or V or whatever you want to call it, they did like those vignette stories of like 5 different, so you actually cared about those people. It focused on the people, and less on the overall what's going on.
That's how you got to do it, I think.
Yeah, and then in Call of Duty World War II, it focused on one person. It was a little better, you know, but it still had that feeling of like, okay, we know what we're getting to.
Yeah, in 2007, you're talking about the one from a few years ago, 2017.
Yeah,
World War II.
I liked. I thoroughly enjoyed playing through it, and I thought it was worth my time. But it was a little better than those older Call of Duty games, but it was still just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a Battlefield snob now, is what it is, and I just can't get over it. But yeah, it just didn't do the same thing for me.
But when Infinity Ward chose to do like an entirely fictional war in Call of Duty 4, it allowed them to really focus it. So we have like a focused bad guy, like this is the bad guy. We have like a smallish group of a couple of different soldiers. You play as a British SAS soldier, and you play as an American Marine, I want to say. Maybe he's an Army Ranger. I think maybe the Ranger is in Modern Warfare 2. But it's much more clear what both of these teams are accomplishing when they do stuff in their missions, like towards this goal, which Call of Duty 3 actually did okay as well, because the Call of Duty 3 storyline is the like converging on Paris, I think, or a city in France, and all of the different groups that you play as are all contributing to this one campaign of taking this city, which is kind of neat.
And now that I look at like Modern Warfare, the newest one, it is like you're playing as all these different dudes, and then they all have one goal in the same way.
Yeah, and I think they've really figured that out in later Call of Duties, of like focus on the people and not the overall conflict. The conflict provides the backdrop, and that's cool, but the people are what really draw people into these stories, you know. And I think that's what video games are really starting to do now. It's not about what you're doing; it's who you are and who you're playing as. And I think that's a very interesting trend that we're seeing in games in general. But yeah, so Call of Duty 4 is pretty cool in that sense. I think the story is easy-ish to follow. There's a lot of like military jargon and stuff that kind of goes over my head a little bit. But I think I know generally what's going on. Like I said, I'm about halfway through this is probably the third or fourth time I played through the game. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff in the campaign. There are a few like standout moments. I want to say, like, spoiler alert here. If you're really,
I think this does fall into spoiler territory technically because with the remaster. I think that, but that's like 2017 though. I don't know. There's people. You realize? Okay, you ready to be old, Tyler? If there is a 15-year-old kid listening to this podcast, they probably never played the first Call of Duty. Right?
Okay, if you're that kid, go play it then, because I won't spoil it for you. But I wanted to spoil it. Okay, there's some pretty cool stuff.
We can still say it, but we just have to say the spoiler warning before.
Oh, okay. Spoiler.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to like stop you from saying it, but I'm like, we should at least say the spoiler warning because it is.
Yeah, okay. We can spoiler warning here. Yeah, spoiler warning. Skip ahead like 2 minutes, I guess, if you don't want to be spoiled. Yeah,
because this is my favorite part of the first Call of Duty game. Too, yeah, so I want to talk about it.
yeah. So at one point,
selfishly.
What?
Selfishly, I want to talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm interrupting you. I'm being a really good podcaster. Go ahead.
This storyline has a couple of really cool set piece moments that I feel like older Call of Duties didn't have. So I mentioned earlier that the enemy probably has nukes. Turns out, totally does have nukes. He launches them at one point. Like there's a point where you see a bunch of missiles launching, but there's also another section where I think it's right after you like try to invade his palace or something. You're trying to track him down in his own palace. Like a nuke gets set off there. And you just see the whole blast, and then you like spawn in as this soldier who's sort of caught in the blast, and you just crawl around for like 15 seconds, and you just die. And like it's like really interesting. I think it kind of shows off this like horrors of war thing that I think that they were going for. And it also kind of starts this trend in Call of Duty of like shocking moments, which we'll cover as we get through them. Like each one kind of tries to top the last ones, and when you start out with a nuke going off, it gets kind of difficult to top that. It's
going to get a little controversial from there.
Yeah, it does. It gets a little bit controversial.
Do you talk about the quotes in this? The quotes that they show you when you die?
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, because I think it kind of follows this theme of like the horrors of war, because every time you die in the game, they put up a quote of like a general or someone talking
older
about
Call
how
of Duties
terrible
did
war
this
is.
too.
Yeah, that's something that I'm just like, I think that's their way of being like, hey, this is a game, and even though it seems like we're glorifying war, we're really trying not to glorify war, even though we kind of are. You are, yeah, because it's a video game, and there's nothing you can do about that to make a video game about war. Yeah. But they're trying, I guess.
Yeah, and so that was a really cool moment that sticks out in my memory. The other moment that sticks out is a mission called All Gillied Up, which is the only...
So good.
Is one of the few missions that has its own Wikipedia article on like Wikipedia proper, not like Call of Duty Wikipedia, but like actual Wikipedia. All Gillied Up has one, and so does No Russian from Modern Warfare 2. We'll talk about that when we get to Modern Warfare 2. But they have their own Wikipedia articles. All Gillied Up is cool. It's like a flashback mission. It's all stealthy, and you camouflage, and you're moving through... it's Pripyat, right? Or Chernobyl? It's an area.
It's like it's Chernobyl. It's like an area that's been hit by it's their fictional Chernobyl.
Yeah,
I think, because I don't think it's called Chernobyl. I think it's called something else. But
yeah, I think you're right. And was there a nuclear reactor meltdown, or was it where a bomb went off? I think it was a meltdown.
I think it was like everything in their power to not call it Chernobyl, even though it was Chernobyl.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, there's
also great HBO show if you haven't seen that.
That is a really good HBO show. Good? Yeah.
Attention.
But yeah, this level has like you're kind of in a ghost town that like has a lot of stuff still there, but everybody is gone, and it's just a really interesting and well done level. I remember when this game came out in 2007, a friend of mine brought me over to his house, and he just sat me down in front of the computer and loaded up All Gillied Up, and he's like, "Play this level." And he like put headphones on me and just like left the room. He was like, "Play this level," and it was really good. Like I really enjoyed it, and it's one of the reasons I ended up picking up Call of Duty 4 eventually for myself, was because I was like, wow.
Yeah, you talking about this right now between those two moments makes me want to go hop on Steam if it's there and buy the remastered right now. Because I forgot how great this campaign is, and like I have a weird relationship with Captain Price, you know? It's like you're just like, this is like my video game dad. He feels like video game dad. And this mission really sparks that, I think, where he's like showing you the ropes.
Yeah.
And I think it's either in this game or a different game where he's like, check your corners. He's always telling you check your corners.
Yeah.
I'm like, full of advice. Video game dad, Captain Price. Thank you.
Yeah. He's great.
You have a great friend, by the way, that had you do that. Plug in and play all gillied up because he knew how much you'd love it. That's great.
Yeah, and it was like brand new at the time, and he had this sweet gaming PC, and
that's
was a sweet
awesome.
2007 gaming PC.
So the dopest.
Yeah, it was really great. So yeah, the single player game totally worth playing. It was very, very good on its own. It lands on a lot of gamers like top first person shooter campaigns of all time lists, and I think rightfully so. It's just really good. So let's talk a little bit about the development of Call of Duty 4. We'll get to the multiplayer soon. But I mentioned earlier that this is continuing the 2-year cycle between Treyarch and Infinity Ward. So they were able to perfect Call of Duty 4 over 2 years, despite having a new Call of Duty game coming out every year. So they had time to make some engine improvements. Call of Duty 4 runs on the Infinity Ward 3.0 engine, which is still technically based on Quake 3, but it's like so heavily modified at this point that it might as well be totally separate. He added a bunch of new features like high dynamic range lighting, depth of field effects. So like when you look down the sights of your weapon and like sort of the background gets blurred out, and there's like other things in focus. That was like a really cool thing in 2007. So was HDR lighting. They also added in bullet penetration. So like some cover is like not great cover because bullets will still go through it and hurt you.
Oh, and multiplayer is so fun.
Yeah, and it works both ways in the campaign too, where you can take hits through things while also hitting enemies through like wood and stuff, which is kind of cool. So I don't use it that much when I play through, but I probably should. I think
they did it on purpose so you could be like, you can, if you know a level, you can really like stealth your way through it and kill all the people before, because they do that in the new modern. I mean, the most recent thing I have is the new Modern Warfare, which I know we probably don't want to talk about this yet, but the fact that we've had now in our lifetime, like the Modern Warfare beginning and now the reboot, it makes me so excited about these games because I actually care about the characters.
Yeah.
And Modern Warfare, the newest one, have you played it, Tyler?
Yes, I have.
Campaign?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's giving you this cool homage to all of this old stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a mission in that new Call of Duty where you go through a house and you essentially have to clear the house. That's the whole mission. And this whole like shooting through walls is a big part of it because if you know where guys are, you can just shoot them through the wall before you go in the room and save your like
the people
your
that are in the
squad.
house. Yeah, and your squad.
And the people in the house. Yeah. So it's pretty good. But.
Yeah. Oh, we should mention that when you're looking at Call of Duty games online, you'll see a Modern Warfare from 2019. That is not the remastered version. That is a reboot.
No.
That is still very good and worth playing. But it's a different game. It's like
I kind of wish these games were released separately of the multiplayer. Like if there was an option to just let you buy the old Call of Duty single players, because no one plays the multiplayers on these older games.
Yep.
You know, like they make you buy it. And I'm like, could you do like a Call of Duty just campaign version or something?
Yeah, like a cheaper one.
Because
they still try to charge $60 for a lot of them too, which is nuts.
They do, which is crazy because you're seriously. In my case, I bought World War II. I maybe played multiplayer for like 5 hours total, and I played the campaign, and then I put it down.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
I was just done.
Yep.
So,
but yeah, Call of Duty 4 had a new engine. They also finally added ragdoll physics to things, like after you kill a body, they sort of fall over, which is something that hadn't been in Infinity Ward Call of Duties, but was in Treyarch Call of Duties. Even in Big Red 1, the one for like the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, that version had ragdoll physics on corpses. I remember because I played it recently and I was like, oh, wow. Because I remember when Call of Duty 2 came out, and it didn't have those things, and I remember being surprised by it because in 2005, that was like the hot new thing, was like ragdoll physics. And I was
2005, the year of ragdoll physics.
It really was. And I was like, and every new game that came out seemed to have it, and I remember being very surprised that Call of Duty 2 didn't have it. Well, finally, Infinity Ward added it in Call of Duty 4.
I feel like ragdoll physics has had like a resurgence with games like Human Fall Flat.
Yeah.
And those weird indies where it's just like the whole point of it is that you're a ragdoll. Those are fun games.
Those ones where they make the physics like part of the gameplay. Is like really interesting and sort of a meta commentary on how weird ragdoll physics can get too. Like sometimes things get contorted into just weird positions, and now there are whole games based on this sort of glitchiness that is inherent with ragdoll physics. I think is funny.
If you haven't played those games, they're super fun.
Yeah.
Especially if you get like a friend to play it with, because I think they're co-op too, so it's a really good time.
Yeah. Call of Duty 4 also begins the trend of Call of Duty games running at a full 60 frames per second on console. So older Call of Duty games ran pretty well, especially on Xbox. Call of Duty 2, I think, generally stays around 60 frames per second. Call of Duty 3 generally does like 40 to 60 on Xbox 360. It doesn't on PlayStation 3. It stays kind of locked to 30. Call of Duty 3 does. But 4 made it a point to just kind of lock in 60 FPS, which I think really contributed to this game's success on console, because it's one of those almost intangible, like if you don't know what you're looking at, it's hard to explain. Like it just feels so smooth and polished when you're playing at 60 frames per second. That just makes things feel better, even if like you claim that you can't see the difference between 30 and 60 frames per second. I think you can feel it, you know? So
Definitely.
So yeah,
I think you can feel it too.
Yeah, I've always been impressed by Call of Duty's dedication to keeping 60 frames per second on consoles, and I very much appreciate it. As somebody who, when I am dialing in like settings on my PC for games, I'm trying to hit 60 frames per second before anything else. Like I won't crank the graphics up unless it keeps me at 60, if that makes sense. That's like my priority there. I will drop graphics until I hit 60 frames per second.
Me too.
Yeah. So this game also had a Wii version. We talked about it a little bit, which was strangely released 2 years later by Treyarch. Drops the frame rate to 30 frames per second. The rest of the graphics kind of scale back to, it looks like a GameCube game with pointer controls because it's kind of what it is. The reason it came out so much later, and from Treyarch, who ported it, was because after Call of Duty World at War came out, Treyarch was able to port that to the Wii while they were working on it for the consoles of the time. They also were able to get a Wii version working of it, and so a lot of that work that went into bringing World at War to the Wii could also be used for Call of Duty 4. So they were like, well, we might as well port Call of Duty 4 to the Wii in 2009. And I think in 2009 it was especially strategic because Infinity Ward did not want to do a Wii port of Modern Warfare 2. They were just like, the game is too good, or it's too whatever. They had very elitist reasons for it, I think. So Treyarch was like, well, I guess we can put Call of Duty 4 on the Wii to sort of be the Wii's Call of Duty in 2009, which is pretty cool. It has the same full online mode that the Xbox and PlayStation releases had, which is very impressive, I think, and very cool. I think what they would eventually discover is that Wii players aren't as hardcore in playing online. I don't think the servers are up for that game because they used Nintendo's Wi-Fi connection, at least according to the box. It has the Wi-Fi connection logo, and those were all taken offline in 2014. But, interesting fact, other Call of Duty games on the Wii, like Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops, that didn't use Nintendo's network are still up and running today. Like, you can still just sign online on those games, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's playing them, but
I want to talk to the 4 people that still play Call of Duty Black Ops on Wii.
I know. I kind of want to fire it up and just see who's playing. Just play some Black Ops. So now we can talk a little bit about multiplayer, which is, again, where I think the game's legacy is most apparent. So single player was fun, very high quality experience, worth playing. We talked about that. But Call of Duty 4 is where Call of Duty became all about multiplayer. This was the first time that a Call of Duty game had a team working on multiplayer the whole time. And I think that effort really showed. Previous entries had like multiplayer that was fine. It was fun. It was a good time. There were some dedicated communities online playing it that really loved it. But it was kind of more of an afterthought. They usually added it on later after the rest of the game was closer to being finished. And it certainly wasn't the focus. But when Infinity Ward saw that people seemed to also really like the multiplayer, even though they had focused on single player, they decided to double down and really put a lot of effort into making the multiplayer mode just as good as the single player mode. And I think that was pretty successful, would you say?
Oh, yeah. This game's multiplayer mode is what started the whole trend.
Yep. So it's a really deep experience on a moment-to-moment gameplay level, like when you're in a match and you're doing stuff. It's one that I personally didn't spend a lot of time with back in the day. I played more Modern Warfare 2. But like moment-to-moment, the game is similar to older Call of Duty titles. It's got some fun maps. You got your standard team deathmatch, capture the flag, bomb defusal modes. There's a bunch of different modes. They added in a new create a class mode, which was a pretty big deal. This is where you could select your weapon and 3 different perks for your player. This was I want to say one of the first games with perks like this, which are basically new abilities or passives that grant you things like C4 bombs or more armor or lower recoil. And there were a whole bunch of perks, and it added another layer of strategy that really let the player kind of decide how they wanted to play in the moment-to-moment gameplay, which is really, really cool. And I think it was one way to keep people coming back because you could experiment with all these different combinations of weapons and perks and stuff. Except for that one perk where the enemies drop a grenade when they die. That one is dumb, and they should have deleted it. I died so many times to that stupid
that perk is stupid. Was it called
so dumb.
No.
Martyrdom.
Martyrdom. Yeah, because Last Stand is the one where you're like down on the ground with a pistol.
Yeah.
That one was fun. Last Stand was fun because you sometimes would get kills when you were down, which was hilarious.
But Martyrdom was just like,
Martyrdom is just still mad.
I think they took it out of future Call of Duty. I don't think it was in Modern Warfare 2.
They just kind of left Last Stand, and I think, and Martyrdom went away.
Yeah. So that was really cool. The gameplay was fun from that perspective, except for Martyrdom. But the most important thing that Call of Duty did in multiplayer was this. They added a persistent system of progression in multiplayer. So this is like very, very common nowadays, but let's rewind back to 2006, 2007. Multiplayer games at that time were generally like a really self-contained experience. You played a few rounds with your friends, maybe you took it seriously, maybe you didn't, and then after that session was over, that was it. It was over, right? You didn't make any kind of progression beyond maybe you got better at the game personally as from like a skill perspective. MMO games were different because they had like persistent worlds and characters. But what Infinity Ward did was bring some of those kinds of systems that's like MMOs have to the multiplayer mode, which I also think was a huge risk because as you play games in Modern Warfare, you gain experience for winning and losing. You gain more for winning, but your bar is always going up. You don't like lose experience for losing. So in this way, you unlock weapons, you unlock attachments for those weapons as you play, which kind of gives you an incentive to play with all the different kinds of weapons because to unlock attachments for a specific kind of weapon, you have to get a certain number of kills with that weapon. Which was a risk because in multiplayer games, it's kind of important for things to stay like competitively like even, like competitive integrity is really important. Like you want players to be on an even ground, right? They have all the same weapons and attachments and everything stays fair. But that wasn't necessarily true in Call of Duty 4 since players who had been playing longer had more options of things to choose from, which is why it was a risk. And I think it paid off for them because people didn't seem to be too bothered by it. It was a little bit unbalanced sometimes, and it was kind of an easy way to say like, oh, of course I died there. He's got a better gun than me because he got a better gun because he played more.
You're doing an impression of me in college right now. That was really good.
Yeah, thanks. But I think the weapons were all very balanced. It wasn't like you unlocked more weapons and those weapons were straight up better. You just got more options, right? They were just different choices.
Yeah, I also think that with this game, I mean, there's always going to be like exploits of like these kind of multiplayer games. I know the one that I would do with my friends is because we had a group of people that was like a full squad when we played, and we would just straight up, we were that group that would like find our favorite spots on a map and just chill there and hold our corners.
Oof.
And it was just an absolute destruction. Like,
you dirty campers.
Yep, we pretty much were. And we also did it because we really enjoyed getting angry messages on Xbox Live. Like that was our that was like my favorite thing in like my early to mid 20s was getting angry messages.
Did you save them? Save them. I hope you saved him.
My friend, he got the best one we ever got is he got a voice message. It was always good when you got voice messages on Xbox Live because
that's even better.
They were just pure gold. But the one he got was this guy, he with his thick southern accent. He's like, hey man, you suck. Your KD's about to go way low. And I still say that. All of our friends still say that. Like when you're about to like lose a game, we're all like, your KD's about to go way low. My girlfriend says it. It's become a part of my group's lexicon. And it is my favorite thing that's ever happened. But yeah, the game, I mean, the cool part about Call of Duty 4 though, is like, even though you get behind, you feel really good when you get that same attachment unlocked that guy killed you with like 10 games before. Because if I recall, the progression moves pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you wanted something, you could get it. It wasn't like you had to grind for hundreds of hours to get a thing.
Yeah, and it was cool because everyone would like find their favorite gun. No one was like, we didn't really get to the point now where people like cared about DPS, you know,
Yeah.
it was kind of early on for this genre. So everyone just was like, the AK is the best or whatever.
Yeah.
And they would just go off the little bars on the screen for their stats. But it was a great time. And this multiplayer holds a very wonderful spot in my heart. And I love it.
This is the first one that had like kill streaks in it too, right? Where as you get more and more kills without dying,
kill
you
streaks.
got like upgrades, which did feel a little unfair at times, and I think it's still kind of controversial of like whether or not kill streaks are a good thing in games.
Yeah, it's unfair, but it also makes it so that if you're like doing what my group of friends did, or in a lot of cases when it was happening to us, because we were like that and it was fun until it happened to us, because then there were other groups of 6 that would be grouped up with us, and that kind of balanced it out. But there is no better feeling than like everyone on your team getting their whole kill streak, like 3 count done.
Ooh.
You know, and you'd set your like all of us had chopper gunner unlocked. Like it's just so silly. But
Yeah, it's so fun.
yeah, it's so fun.
The other thing so once you hit level 55 in the like overall leveling system, that's the highest level, you could do what was called prestige mode, where you reset all your levels and all your unlocks. You get a neat little icon to like show off that you've done it. And you get to just start over and do it all from scratch. And so it was kind of a way for people who had mastered the game to also to come back to continue progressing, even if it's just unlocking stuff they'd already unlocked. But to also like show off how much they've played the game, because like up to 10 times, I think you got different icons. So after a certain point, it was like you see this person with like, you know, level 10 prestige and maxed out everything. And you'd be like, wow, this guy's played a lot of Call of Duty.
This was the raid armor of Destiny compared to if you had a guy that you were facing up against and he had level 10 prestige, you're like, okay, I'm going to lose, but whatever, this guy earned it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's so fun. Gosh, it's early. And I can't wait to start talking about the other ones, because the other ones multiplayer, like Call of Duty Points, completely changes the whole game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun.
They just keep innovating. It was just really, really well done. So it wasn't the first game to have like a progression system. Battlefield 2 had kind of a point system that like let you unlock a new weapon for each class, and there was kind of a ranking system as well too. But it wasn't as integrated or as addictive as Call of Duty 4's. Like Call of Duty 4 was every time you finished a match, you saw your bars go up and how close you were to getting the next thing. And I think they spaced out the unlocks just well enough that it was like every few matches you were getting something, which keeps that like constant drip of dopamine coming in, you know?
It was like gambling, but you never lost.
Right.
You just won for playing the game.
Yep.
Like you just kept getting stuff for playing the game, and it felt so good.
Perfect. And like had this game come out like 3 or 4 years earlier, they probably would have still had all that stuff in it, but everybody would just have it from the beginning in it, and you wouldn't have had to earn it, and it would have just been even from the start in that sense. And some people might say that that's a better way to do it, and maybe like depending on what your values are, I guess, like it is a better way to do it. But man, that rush of hitting, like filling the progress bar is everything.
Oh yeah. It was like I would start playing with friends when I got off work at like, and this is actually more Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think, when I was like out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd get off work at like 4, get home, eat dinner. I'd be on Call of Duty by like 7. And then I would not get off until 1 or 2 a.m. And it was like that consistently every day of the week, unless I had a comedy show, for like years.
Wow.
Going and like just going to the next Call of Duty game. Like it started with Black Ops and it was Modern Warfare 2, and it would just like go through it. And it was so fun to me, you know. And then there was a breaking point where everything changed, and I will talk about like my personal part of when I left this game franchise. And I'm super excited, but I think we'll get to that part in the history too. I think you're covering that one, so
yeah, I think I think I know what you're talking about. I think we'll get there. But that dopamine hit, I think, is what this game gave to the rest of multiplayer. Like I said, this stuff existed before. They didn't invent this idea, but they certainly made it popular and showed how to do it in a way that keeps people coming back and addicted. And turns out you can do this in other game genres. And people just like filling up progress bars, and they just like the ding noise, you know? Destiny is a game that's entirely built around that. Like every time we logged in to play Destiny, it was some variation of like fill up this progress bar, right? Or pull the slot machine on a random drop, right?
And like phone games, this is what phone games are.
Yep,
now.
exactly.
It's just fill the slot machine. Like, yeah.
And yeah, so MMOs are like that. Even super competitive games like you got Dota or League of Legends have this kind of system where like no matter what happens in the game you just played, you made some kind of progress towards something else like leveling up or unlocking new characters or something like that. And every like multiplayer game worth its salt now has that, except games that make the conscious decision to not do that because they're trying to, for whatever reason, they don't want to do that. Like it's a decision that they make though, and it's not the norm anymore. And it's bled into like single player games too. Like how many games you see nowadays that have like a leveling system and progress bars that wouldn't have had those before? Like even Assassin's Creed has that now where you're like leveling up and unlocking things and filling up progress bars all the time. And it all comes down to that like Skinner box dopamine hit you get from unlocking something. And I don't even think it's necessarily bad. Like I love it. I play a lot. I mean, I play World of Warcraft almost every single night because I want to see my progress bars fill up. Same reason I played Destiny, right? But like you said, though, it's also had a bit of a double-edged sword with mobile games, because in a lot of mobile games, there isn't like an actual game there. It's just like various ways to fill progress bars up, which is kind of like this thing taken to the extreme. And it's kind of addictive, and people will spend a lot of money on making those progress bars go up faster or to skip them or whatever. And some of that I think can be tied back to Call of Duty 4 bringing this system into the mainstream on console and like kind of addicting an entire generation of gamers to the ding.
Yeah. Because what year was Call of Duty 4?
2007.
So that's like right on the cusp of like smartphones.
Yep. Yeah.
Taking off
The
too.
iPhone was out by that time, but the App Store wasn't yet.
Yeah,
So-
this is it. This really is it. The height of... We are pre-phone dopamine machines.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not necessarily dissing on it. Like I love it myself, and I think done properly, it's a very fun way to keep you coming back
Also-
to a game.
Yeah, there are some phone games that are like... I mean, if you think about all the AR games, those are good. They have progress bars too, but those are fun. You know,
Yeah.
like catching
Yeah.
Pokemon in Pokemon Go or whatever. Like, I'm not here to just completely poo-poo phone games.
Right. Of course,
But-
no.
yeah.
There are a lot of phone games that I really enjoy too that have some of these systems, but they also have a fun game attached. But I think there are some games that really don't have much of a game there besides fill up the progress bars, which is a little sketch.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I think we'll leave this one. We've been going for a long time on one game, so I think if we were to throw in the next Call of Duty game, we'd probably just be talking about it for the next.
Oh, yeah. We're
hour.
going to be talking about 2 for a bit because of No Russia. So,
Yeah. So that's why I think that this is the most important Call of Duty game of them all, though, because they crushed it on the single player campaign. It was great, and then the multiplayer had such a ripple effect on the entire gaming industry that it's hard to understate just how much this game did for that stuff. I think, but next time we'll talk about Treyarch's next entry, which is World at War. So that's while Infinity Ward was like they're taking risks on making a modern warfare in a modern setting, Treyarch was creating another Call of Duty, but kind of in the same vein as the older games, another World War II game. And I don't know if that was because it was like a hedge against the modern setting of Call of Duty 4, where Activision was like, let's make another World War II one just in case this modern thing doesn't work out. Or maybe they just wanted to make that. But we still got at least one more World War II game to cover in our history of Call of Duty. And World at War is pretty good. So we'll talk about that. They took kind of all the things that Infinity Ward learned from making Call of Duty 4 and the multiplayer and the single player there, and they kind of applied it back to that World War II formula. And I think the results are pretty interesting. So yeah.
yeah.
I'm
excited to cover these ones.
What's been your experience with Call of Duty 4? I know we talked about it a bit throughout the episode, but
I want to be clear, too. I didn't actually own an Xbox when Call of Duty 4 was going on, but I played Call of Duty 4. I would go to my friend's house in college to play Call of Duty 4.
Wow.
And like I played it at their house, and I played it at their house so much that by the time Black Ops was coming out, I needed to own my own Xbox, because I don't think I played at World at War, and I don't think my friends really did. For some reason, there's like a skip there, because we played Call of Duty 4, we kind of all skipped World at War. And then we went back when it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Because it's Modern Warfare 2 and then Black Ops, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people skipped World at War because it was a bit of a like, oh, another World War II one. Okay. And so I think people were still kind of sick of World War II by that time. Because like we started to hit like 2007, 2008, that period. Like World War II was kind of done at this point in terms of gaming. Like we'd seen a lot of World War II games. Like kind of how I feel about zombie games now is just like
Yeah.
another zombie game is like I don't necessarily get excited because it's a zombie game, you know? Like that doesn't mean there aren't any good zombie games coming out, but it's just like there was a period of time where I would hear, "Oh, a new zombie game is coming out," and I'd be like, "Yes, I love zombie games." And now I'm like, "Okay, this better be good," you know?
And we're still like foaming at the mouth for Back for Blood, so let's get very clear about
that's
that.
true.
Like,
Yes,
we're very
yes.
excited.
Yes.
But yeah, I think what happened with me is I played Call of Duty 4 at friends' houses. I skipped World at War. I got an Xbox in time for Modern Warfare 2. And then Modern Warfare 2 was the first game I played on my own 360. And then I got Black Ops next. And that was fun. Because Black Ops was fun because Black Ops was when I graduated college. So it was like, I'm on my own. And I can play this game as long as I want with no homework and just work. And it was a dark time for the rebellion. I'll say that much. But it's super fun. And I love these games and I'm super excited to talk about them. But Tyler, what you been playing?
I've been playing a whole lot of World of Warcraft. And I think I talked about it last week on the podcast. I did the full raid already. I have yet to clear it again because it's hard to find groups of people who are both competent and nice people to play with. So we haven't cleared it for the second time, and we can talk about that if you want in a sec. But otherwise, I haven't played any. I haven't played any Jedi Fallen Order. I think I'm gonna end up setting the difficulty down to just play it for the story because the Dark Souls stuff doesn't click with me.
Yeah, just turn that down. You got nothing to prove. Just enjoy the story because the story is really good. I really like the story in that game.
That's what I want.
It's worth it.
When I was thinking about it, I was like, the graphics are great, story's great, all this exploration stuff is really cool. I'm just really bummed that the gameplay's so hard. And then now I'm like, well, why don't you just make it so the gameplay's not hard, and then you can enjoy all those other things and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like the perfect amount of like make you feel like an awesome Jedi. Yeah. While being able to get through the story quicker if you play it on story mode, for sure.
Yeah, but most of my game time now, when I'm not playing WoW, is focused on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which I played a few hours of this week. I'm mostly playing World of Warcraft. Like that's what I want to be clear about here. It's mostly WoW. But yeah, what have you been playing, Mike?
Well, I've been playing WoW with you, and I have my gripes. I have my gripes that I don't understand why people can't be nice on the internet. I think that's what it comes down to.
People are especially mean in some games, like. And I don't know what it is about WoW that makes people be mean because it's so low stakes. Like, who cares?
Yeah, and that's what's bothering me. Because, I mean, and I talked to you about this at length with our buddy, but it's like when I played Destiny, I never really ran into people that are terrible. And I think it's because, one, you're mostly on voice comms and people are a lot less, like a lot more concerned about being mean on voice comms.
Yeah.
Whereas in WoW, there are people just typing horrible things in the chat. Yeah. And you're just like, really? Like, even when you're not playing, like a trade city hub is just like, ugh, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I need to turn that off, I think.
Yeah, like I thought this part of the internet died in like the mid 2000s, but nope, it's still alive and well. And so it just kind of bums me out. And we got into a situation where it was just like I was getting kicked from like the raid because I wasn't doing a lot of DPS because I'm not very good at the game. I want to make it very clear. I am not good at World of Warcraft.
We got you better though. There was some key things you were missing that were not very hard to correct, and now you're doing really well. So.
I essentially went through the Tyler Osby crash course in DPSing.
Yeah.
Using my monk. And it helps a lot because I didn't realize I was playing my cooldowns like I would a tank, where my cooldowns are my oh no buttons. When in reality, if you're DPS, your cooldowns are your all the time buttons. And I didn't know that.
If you're not using them, you're wasting it. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, switch to DPS and then you'll just learn how to DPS while playing the raid, which is a silly way to learn it, but I don't know why we thought that was a great idea. I'm saying we when I'm talking about myself. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea.
But we still had like people in the Mythic dungeons last night that were being jerks, and I'm just like, this is a Mythic 0. It is the lowest stakes.
Yeah, who cares?
Fine.
Yeah,
and he was super mad that we were not knowing the mechanics because we'd never done that boss on Mythic before. And I'm just like, this is what like it just because people are so desperate for those progress bars we just talked about that they don't want to play the game anymore. They just want to earn the rewards, and it's like, why are you still doing this then? I think it's kind of why I fell off Destiny and games like this is, well, Destiny's a whole other thing because with their sunsetting system, they're not even valuing what you get anymore. Like they're just throwing it away in a month or whatever, whenever the next season comes out. But I think this kind of like progression earn stuff system, the slot machine is wearing me down, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time wanting to do it. I play WoW because Tyler and our friends play WoW, and that's fun to me, and I'm going to keep playing. But am I going to like renew my subscription every month? I don't think so, you know. But I also play, in lighter news, I beat BioShock 2 and BioShock 2 Minerva's Den.
Nice.
Which is a fantastic DLC. Probably one of the best DLCs I've ever played. And I thought that when I beat it, and then I looked online, and it's like, to a lot of people, it's one of the best DLCs out there.
Yep.
As far as a self-contained 3-hour story goes. So that was really fun, and we'll talk about BioShock 2, and BioShock Minerva's Den next week.
Nice. Are you going to play Infinite next? Soon?
I am going to play Infinite soon. Like, I want to make sure I have some time for it, because school's popping off and getting even busy. I say this every week, but it really is like, it's because it's like a boot camp style, so it doesn't ever stop. It's just like homework after homework after homework.
Yeah,
and
they're
because
really
of that,
trying to get you the knowledge fast.
Yeah, and I don't have time to play games like I want to, you know? So it's like, we'll see what happens. I might have to do some episodes on other stuff. There was actually a really good suggestion in Discord about doing the Mario Land series.
Ooh.
Matt in Japan mentioned that in a Discord post, and I was super into that because that's the one where there's like the giant Wario that you go through.
Yeah.
And I have like distinct memories of that as a child. And this game, this podcast is all about nostalgia. So
That's right.
That's what we're all about. So yeah, there's that. But we got an email that has some really good questions that we need to get to.
Okay.
This is important. This is from Burger Champ on Discord. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, Burger Champ here with a couple of hypotheticals for you. Feel free to break them into 2 episodes. Well, maybe we should then. Let's do the other one next episode.
Okay.
Because this is already kind of running along. So, and this question is a doozy. The NES, SNES, Genesis era was the height of games with a real person's name licensed in the title. If you could pick any celebrity, past or present, and give them their own title, who would you choose and what would their game entail? What would a game with your name in the title be like? This is a really good question. I have an idea.
Okay. What's your idea?
Okay. It's a Martha Stewart game where you escape prison. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good story.
Yeah.
You know? I also told Tyler earlier that in my like Puget Sound area, Western Washington State, there is a local celebrity. His name is Cisco, and he did not do the thong song, but he does do a gardening segment on the news that is like really popular. And I think doing a farming sim with this local celebrity Cisco would be also a really fun game.
Like Stardew Valley, but Cisco inspired.
But Cisco's Sunshine Valley or whatever.
Ooh,
you know,
yeah,
pretty good.
That's
right?
nice.
What about you? Do you have any ideas?
I thought about this before we went on, and I never settled on anything. I had Willie Nelson's Tax Evasion, which is similar to Martha Stewart. Another one kind of similar. You could do like O.J. Simpson's The Getaway Driver.
Oh, like a driver style game. That would be really relevant.
You've got the driver, but you've also got the time he broke into the pawn shop in Las Vegas, I think, and he got in trouble for that too, stealing his own memorabilia back. So you've got like a heist. There's a heist mini game in there too.
So you're just describing Grand Theft Auto, but with O.J. Simpson.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto, but O.J. Simpson is the main character.
That's not bad. Bad. What about a fun I think it would be fun to do some sort of it would be like a rhythm rock band game, but with the bands from the 90s that we loved. You know?
Oh yeah, that would be
like
good.
a Blink-182 rock band.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid.
A Bob Ross painting simulator game for tablets would be very cool.
Oh, that's really good. So what would a game with our names entail?
Oh man.
I mean, it could be like a rhythm game, but with podcasting. It's like what's that DJ game that you play?
Fuser.
It's like Fuser, but with podcasting, and you got to say the right things at the right time.
Yeah.
To make people stay engaged. Or you could do it could be like a Gigapet scenario and you're raising Luna the cat or Luna the dog or Toby the cat or Delilah the cat or Maria the cat.
I think it's got to be like a Persona style game where you deal with my real life in the middle of the day and then at night you play an MMO, but the gameplay of the MMO is you just playing the MMO. So basically, I'm taking Tyler Osby's Pro WoW Simulator, but with Persona elements.
And Luna talks to you because it's a video game.
Yeah.
So Luna talks to you like in Persona. She's like the cat.
Yep.
I'm into that. That's a really good one. Because otherwise, I mean, yeah, you don't want it to be like Second Life, you know?
Mm-mm.
That's not. Is Second Life even a game?
Great question.
Oh, that's a philosophical question for another episode. But we got a review. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know you could review and rate this podcast, listeners? I only say it overwhelmingly every week. All right. This is also from Burger Champ. Thank you, Burger Champ. Doubling down with the 2 great questions and the review. We'll read the second question, I think, next episode. That'll be fun. Break them up
that's a good question. And it'll give us time to think about it.
Yeah, definitely, because it's a hard question, too. Okay. The best thing since sliced hotcakes. Mike and Tyler, tell it like it is. Wait, Tyler and Mike, tell it like it was. If you want a deep dive into gaming's sordid history, look no further. The rapport is terrific. The banter, snappy and upbeat, and curiosities are satiated. Hats off to you, captains of the explanations of the goings-on of the history of the gaming industry, you sirens of Titanfall. Encore. Oh, that's such a good one. Thank you.
Sirens of Titanfall Encore.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's like Sirens of Titanfall, exclamation point, encore. You know? Titanfall owes a lot to Call of Duty also, but also Call of Duty owes a little bit to Titanfall, and I'm excited to get into that.
Funny enough, Titanfall, made by a lot of the same people who made Call of Duty. After they left
Respawn
Infinity Ward, they went to do Respawn, and then they made Titanfall and Jedi Fallen Order. Weird.
I love it. I love how it's all connected, but we are going to get into that more 2 weeks from now, and then we'll cover BioShock next week. But thank you all so much for listening. You can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @mecoletta or at SneakerElf, ELPH for Tyler. You can join our Discord. We have Discord links pinned to the top of my Twitter profile.
I should probably have it on mine too.
Yeah, you can do that too. It's just a link that never expires. So that should always work. And if you also don't know, if you don't use Twitter, you don't want to, you can always email us and then I can just send you a link too. With that, I think that's everything. Tyler, do you want to say bye to everybody?
Sure. Goodbye, everybody.